We're here with Bernice Ross, the CEO of realestatecoach.com. And I'm just so excited to have Bernice here today to talk about how to create a red hot business plan. And I've just made Bernice the presenter, and I can see your screen, Bernice. Welcome, and thanks so much for doing this. Before you get started, Bernice, I just want to make sure that if anyone that's listening online can just use the question panel to tell me that they can hear us okay, and also see Bernice's screen okay, that would be really, really great. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Bernice. Thank you again for doing this for us.
Well, great. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you for all of you who got up early to be in the office this morning and who are here and care about having a business plan, because it is the secret for success in 2015. Here's what we're going to be covering today. First, how to dispel the 6 common time management myths. Second, how to create a business plan based upon your production profile. Third, how to implement 11 red-hot business planning secrets that are your personal GPS for success. So, and I don't know what happened just then, but we had a little glitch with the software here, so hang on a sec. So let me try this again. It went right down to the end of the presentation. So, Melissa, are we seeing 6 time management myths now?
I'm seeing 6 time management myths. Yes.
Great. I don't know what happened just then. That's never happened before.
The good news is everybody says they can hear you great and see you great. So I've got 4 or 5 people saying that you're doing great. So I think you're fine.
Okay, fantastic. So the technology is working just fine. Okay, so the question I have for you, we're going to start with these 6 time management myths. And have you fallen victim to any of these? Because I know I have. The first one is, myth number 1 is that you can manage time. You know, how many times have you heard the word time management? Well, the truth of the matter is you can't manage time. You can only manage yourself and the choices that you make about how you spend your time. So give up on trying to manage time and instead look at your choices. That's a really key point. Second, I used to work 7 days a week, and I imagine some of you do too, and not take time off. And myth number 2 is that there's no time for downtime. The truth is you cannot afford to not take time off. And the reason is, actually, when you take time off, you are more efficient, you perform better, and also all those really troublesome clients that that are being really difficult to, deal with, in many cases, those people just disappear. And part of it is just you're in a better place. Myth number 3, I have to be available 24/7 to succeed. No, you need to have a life. You need to have time for family, loved ones, time to care for yourself. Instead, your clients just want you to be in regular contact with them. They don't need you to be available every single minute of the day. Now, how many of you, for those of you who are really busy, one of the ways that we get into trouble is thinking I'm the only one who can do it. And like this woman in this picture, I have fallen asleep at my desk from working too much. So instead, what you need to look at is that many times delegating gets the job done faster and more competently. So as you go through this year, and you evaluate where you are in terms of your business plan, ask yourself, what do I really dislike doing? And maybe you're really good at presenting with buyers and sellers. That was always, I love doing the deal, but I hated doing the paperwork. It's just like, So being able to turn something over to a transaction coordinator or to have a virtual assistant who maybe tracks your receipts and things for you. But these things are ways that can, that free you up to spend more time with buyers and sellers or to spend more time taking care of you. Myth number 5, taking time off will cause my business to decrease. There's a tremendous amount of research on this, and the truth of the matter is taking time off creates room for new business. In fact, if many of you who've been experienced, have done business for a number of years, what happens is every time you plan a vacation, doesn't your business pick up? Well, the reason is you've created all that space, and that's one of the things that you can do. When you create space, you create room for new business. So one of the things you can do is clean your desk, clean your office, clean your garage, clean your car. It makes no difference where it is. Get rid of old stuff. The holidays are coming. A lot of people could use some of those old clothes that you have in your closet that you're not using. Clean out what you're not using because it creates space for new business. And I know I've told this to people for the last 18 years, and they don't believe me until they go do it. So try it and see what it does to your business. You may be surprised. Now, this is one of our favorite ones. I cannot live without my cell phone. Well, the truth is, every time you get a Facebook message that interrupts your concentration, or if it breaks up a closing sequence, and a message that's about some Facebook joke or something, and this disrupts your closing when you're with a client, it takes you a full 20 minutes to regain your concentration at that same level. So get in the habit of, all of your phones have the equivalent of either airplane mode or a do not disturb button on them. Get in the habit of using that function and then checking your phone every 30 minutes or so to see what's come in. So, it's great to be available every minute, but there are times when you really need to be focused on what you're doing and you need to not have those interruptions. Now, I'm going to ask you to do something here, and this is going to make you uncomfortable. I can tell you that right now, so be prepared for that. I want you to write down what your income goal will be for 2015. So if you can, please write down your income goal for 2015. Okay, you got that number written down? Okay, so this is what's going to make you uncomfortable. I want you to double it. So if you wrote down $100,000, I want you to write down $200,000. Now, this is going to make you really uncomfortable. I want you to double it again. So if you wrote down 100,000 and then it's 200,000, double that, that's 400,000. Now, you may be thinking, okay, the only way I'm going to make $400,000 next year is to win the lottery. Well, you can, maybe that's what you can attract. But what you're doing here by, making this big, gigantic number that you just put down, well, this is secret number one to having a powerful business plan. Is called having a BHAG. A BHAG is a big, hairy, audacious goal. And the reason that these are important is that, if you set your goal at 100,000, then maybe you will hit, 80 or 90. But if you set it at 200 or 400, you're more likely to hit 125 or 150 or even 175 because the big goal pulls you forward. It invites you to say, what would I have to do differently to work less and make more? And that's what the rest of today is going to be about, is how you can work less and make more in 2015. So the question is, how am I ever going to reach that big fat BHAG I just set for myself? It is in reach, but it does take some changes in what you're doing currently, and also looking at what's really working for you. So in the handout, there is this is a business plan at a glance. You can use it for the rest of 2014, and it's real simple to change this. For 2015, you just change the number up there in the box, and this is in a Word doc, so it's super easy. But you can use this in several different ways. Please note that the first thing up here is a personal annual goal, and I want each of you to start with something personal, not just business. And then you have your business annual goal, which you've already done. Now you want to put, what are your goals for your weekly buyer leads, listing leads, under contract, closed sales, and then you want to track what you did. So you can use this part for your weekly tracking, but then you can also do daily tracking as well. So you can say, okay, well, what are my top three, okay, today is Monday, what are the top three personal priorities that I have today? Okay, well, one of mine this morning was to exercise. A second one's going to get some reading time in before I go to bed, and I'll probably take a break at lunchtime and watch a soap. That's kind of my little, it's not a priority, but it's just something I've been writing all day, and I'm working. It's just I get my mind off my work and do something that's entirely different. Always want to get my exercise in first thing in the morning. That works for me. But I have to put it on my to-do list because it gets away if I don't do it first thing. And then I want to put my business priorities. So number one this morning was leading this webinar. I have a big project due this afternoon, and then I have some work to do about setting something up for tomorrow. So those are the three things that I need to do today, that if I don't do anything else, those three things need to get done. And that's the way to approach this, because what a lot of people do is they beat themselves up. I have 25 things on my to-do list and I get 18 of them done and I get upset that I didn't accomplish the other 7. Put your focus on your top 3 priorities. That's the way to really, again, keep you on track and to be successful. Now, secret number 2 is to determine your personal high probability lead generation patterns. Now, I'm going to walk you through this process. For those of you who are in Melissa's office, she'll be able to print out your transactions for 2014, and you'll be able to do this exercise using your personal transactions. I think that's very important that you do them with your own. For those of you who are from outside her office, Melissa has offered very graciously to help you with this if you'd like to come in and chat with her. It's no obligation. She's just, Melissa has a real heart of service. So this is just a real great way that she can help you with your business. Take advantage of it if you're interested in this. But it's nice to have someone coach you through this. Now, here's how this works. The first step here is to identify your strengths. So what you'll be doing, and I'm going to give you the overview of the steps right now, and then we're going to look at an actual set of production figures from someone, one of our coaching clients. So you see what this really looks like in actuality. So, but when you do this for yourself, you want to list all the transactions that you've closed. You want to note what activity generated the lead. And if you're not tracking this, starting today, whenever you start working with a client, note where the lead came from. The reason this is important, it tells you where to spend your money in terms of your advertising. Also, you want to identify the top 1 or 2 age groups that you serve in your business. And I like to break this out by decades, but you could say Gen Y, Gen X, baby boomers too. I mean, you could do it that way, whatever works for you. And then you want to know what kind of households you're serving. So are you tracking single men and women, couples, or couples with kids, empty nesters, investors? What size? Are you tracking people that have really large families? So you want to track what the households look like that you're doing business with. Next, you want to say, what 2 types of careers or jobs do most of your clients hold? Do you represent more buyers or sellers? And then where do most of your clients originate? Are you getting them locally? Are you getting them from outside of the area? If so, what states? Or, given your location in San Diego is a destination not only for Asia and Australia and New Zealand, of course, but for all of Mexico and Latin America. So again, where are your clients originating? And then what are the top 2, the top two areas where you sell the most property? And be very specific. This should be a subdivision. It could be a single condo project. So you want to be specific here. Now, this is what this actually looks like when it's done. And one of the things I wanted you to see was how this would appear, and then how this works for doing your income, for doing this yourself. So here, when I've got all this, is kind of a mess, isn't it? So it's like, well, how is this going to help me? Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to begin by identifying the most common price ranges. So this particular agent, when we went through, the first thing we noticed is that she was doing a lot of things in the $500,000 to $600,000 price range. So she had a big chunk of her business. So this is one of her niches. She's serving people who are in the $500,000 to $600,000 price range. Now, she also was selling quite a few condos, but for the $500,000 to $630,000 price range, she was getting 36% of her business there. Now, she was selling condos, as I mentioned. She has a second niche here, essentially from, it looks like, about $210,000 to $295,000 or $200,000 to $300,000. But 24% of her business came from that price range. So in terms of where she should be marketing going forward in 2015, she'll want to be marketing in these 2 price ranges. This is where she should, if she's door knocking or cold calling or mailing, it should be to these 2 price ranges because that's where she's doing the most business. Now, the next thing, and this is on the handout, what these stand for, but the question is, where did this particular transaction come from? So the first one is PCR for past client referral. So this is a referral from a past client. PCB was a past client who bought something. And then PCL is a past client who listed with you. So you've got three categories. You've got people who send you referrals. You've got people who are past clients who buy and past clients who sell. So notice here that, again, a huge part of her business came from past clients, almost half of her business. So where she needs to be focusing, it's important that she continue to generate new business, but what she really needs to be focused on is being in contact with those past clients because they are sending her a lot of business. So it's really important that she spends her time and her marketing dollars, and if she's mailing, she needs to be mailing to them, not necessarily doing a geographical farm. Now, again, when we look at her profile, well, overwhelmingly, and we broke this out by decades, so it's like 40 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, so forth and so on. So here you have the ages. So she's overwhelmingly serving people in their 40s. Now, she didn't know this until we did this exercise. She has 56% of her business from ages in this group. She was aware of it, but she didn't realize what a big chunk of business that was for her. The other thing that she didn't realize was that she had a huge number of women that she was dealing with who were either single or women who were going through a divorce. So she was really attracting a big chunk of her business from this particular demographic. 44% of the business was from single or divorcing women, and she didn't have any idea about that. So one of the things she might do is when she's designing her marketing materials, and if she's representing a condo, which a lot of women like to have because they don't have the outside upkeep, then this is something where, okay, I really need to be focused. My advertising needs to show women that are in their 40s, maybe by themselves, cooking or gardening or doing something, but I want to show that single 40-ish lifestyle for the people that I'm attracting in my business. Now, this particular agent was based in Silicon Valley, so needless to say, she's working with a lot of people in the high-tech business. Then, in fact, 56% of her clients were from high-tech, so again, she was kind of engineering and geeky kind of gal. Well, this is a perfect fit for her. Most of her business was with sellers. She has a 60-40 split here. 60% of her listings and 40% buyers. That's kind of a nice balance, especially in the seller's market that I assume that you're in the most price ranges there in San Diego. Then what was interesting, she was aware that most of her clients were from the local area, and that's true for most of us. But when we went through this, last year at this time, one of the things that that we noted was that she had 5 different sets of clients representing 20% of her business that was from outside the U.S. And in particular, she had 3 sets of clients from India. And what we talked about was how she might be able to expand that client base that was from India. So she had 20% of her business was international. Well, what she did, she took that advice, and one of those clients referred her someone to a $2 million listing that she double-ended. So by focusing on the fact that she had a niche here in international and specifically with India, this was an opportunity that came about because she focused on being in that niche. Now, finally, what subdivisions is she selling in? Predominantly in Oak Hill, and a secondary, 32% in Oak Hill, and a secondary area in Playa. So she's getting most of her business, 60% of her business from those 2 areas. So for this agent, what we know about her, she should be in the $200,000 to $300,000 condo price range, the $500,000 to $600,000 for single family. She's going to get most of her business by prospecting from her sphere of influence and people who are past clients. Her ideal client will be in their 40s, probably a single woman who works in the high-tech system, most likely to come from the local area, but might be from offshore, and will want to live in Oak Hill or in Playa. So what I have now is I have a profile of what this particular agent's high probability selling patterns are. The secret here, instead of working harder to get into your BHAG, instead of having to work harder, instead what you want to do is search for the commonalities. These lead to connection, and this in turn gives you your business niches. Specifically, you want to ask what niches are you serving. Now, when my friend Teresa Boardman did this, and Teresa she is very geeky, but she's also a photographer, so she blogs using a lot of photos. Well, what she found is that she was attracting people who were university professors in math and science. That's her geeky side. But because of her photography blog, she was also attracting a lot of artists. So what she does is she has two very different sites for these groups. For the artists seem to like her. She has a blog called The Real Estate Weenie, which is kind of just off the chart funny. But for her more serious clients, she's got sites that have a lot of data on them, and give them the numbers because they like doing the numbers. So the question you need to ask for your business is, what niches are you serving, and then focus on those niches and let go of the rest. Put your efforts into your personal top 50%, and then forget about everything else. And try this. What happens is we put a lot of effort into things that don't work. And what will work for you is if you focus on that top 50% that you get from doing this exercise. It takes, it's going to maybe take you an hour or two to do it, but it is so worth it because it's going to tell you where to spend your money going into 2015. And I'd like to suggest that you do it every single quarter because the market shifts. And what you may be attracting now, or what may be happening now in the market, it may be that the $500,000 to $700,000 price range in San Diego is on fire, and all of a sudden it goes dead, and it's just the first-time buyer market that's hot. Or it may be the high end, the ultra high end is good, but the kind of middle high end is not. You're not going to know until you track that to see what's coming in your own business. Now, secret number 3 is to know your numbers. And I know some of you are going to tune out with this, and that's okay. But those of you who like to track numbers, this is an important thing to do, and I want to encourage you to do it if you can. And I know you guys, most realtors don't like dealing with numbers, but this is, in terms of goal setting and business planning, is something you need to be doing. So the first thing you need to do is to calculate your average price per transaction. So you've written down your income goal already for the next 12 months. So assuming that you wrote down $100,000 and you doubled it to $200,000, but if you want to keep it at 100, you can, or you go to 150, whatever works for you. You'll need to calculate what was your average commission per transaction. So you want to divide your commission income for the last 12 months by the number of closed transactions you had. So assuming that we have a situation, assuming I made $52,000 and I closed 13 transactions, my average net to me per transaction was $4,000. So now, if I want to make $100,000 and I make $4,000 per transaction, well, then I'll divide 100,000 by 4,000, and that gives me 25 transactions. So that's what I'll need to do, if that's my price point. Now, let's take a look at some closing ratios, and here's some things that are going to really surprise you. First of all, did you know that for domestic U.S. buyers and sellers, when you first start working with them, 33% of them will close. That means 67% will not close. So you meet them and you take them out at least once, or you sign a listing, you've got a 33% chance that transaction will close. If you're working with buyers from outside the U.S., the probability that they will close is 50%. So you will have better luck with international clients if you're comfortable working with them, especially for those of you who are fluent in other languages. This is a really great way to niche your business because, again, you can do more deals with the same amount of work. So if I am working with domestic U.S. clients, and that tells me I'm going to need 75 clients to close 25 transactions. If I'm working with international clients, I need 50 to close 25 transactions. Now, the good news about being in San Diego, your price points are higher than this, so most of you are probably netting more than this from your sales. Now, I'm going to share this. Many of you may have heard about this Harvard Business School study that shows that students who had a business plan as compared to those who did not, how much more did they earn? Well, having a written business plan is the secret to success. So in the Harvard study, did the people who had a business plan, how much more did they earn as compared to those who did not? Did they earn 2 times as much, 4 times as much, 7 times as much, or 10 times as much? Well, here's what the truth is. They earned more than 10 times as much money. Just having a written plan meant 10 times as much income. So by writing down your annual goals, which you have just done, and then using that form about what are my personal annual goals? Do I want to put one of my children through college? Am I saving for retirement? I want to go on that special trip for our 20th wedding anniversary. What is it that you want for your business? What the Harvard study showed that only 3% of their people in the study had written goals. 13% had goals but not in writing, and 84% had no goals. 10 years later, the 13% with goals were earning double what the others were earning, and those with written goals were earning 10 times as much as the other two groups combined. So just by writing down your goal this morning, you set yourself on the path to earn a lot more money than people who do not have that, that goal GPS set before them. Secret number 5 is to always, and
Bernice, we're having trouble with the sound if you can hear us. So can let me know if you can hear me, those of you that are on. I can't hear Bernice. Okay, so Kathleen says she can hear me. Thanks. So while we're waiting for Bernice, who may need to log out and log in again, let's see what she's saying. Okay, we've gotten some really good questions, so let's start talking about those and let's hope we can get Bernice back on. Yeah, she looks like she's logging back in now. So one of the things we were asking we were talking about was that the international. So how can we convert these international out-of-state people into home buyers? That example that she gave had 5 or 6 out of the United States home buyers, but she was able to leverage that into even more. So I think it will be really, really great when Bernice gets back on the line, and it looks like she might be getting back in now. And yes, for those of you that are asking, there will be a recorded version, so we will get that. I'll get that link out to you as soon as the webinar is over. Looks like Bernice is still logging back in, and we can all see her screen right now. So she's probably frantically trying to get back in. So I guess I'll ask her that to kind of so we can get back moving on that. And then there were some other questions about niches and selecting niches and things like that. So I'll be asking her those as well. So feel free to keep the questions coming while we're getting back in, and I will definitely get to those and give her some time to answer those at the end of the webinar. Bernice, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can all hear you. So, we can
also see my screen. That's a different issue.
Yeah, we can see your screen too. And I was just telling everybody that's on the line that we have a lot of good questions about niches and international niches and things like that. So,
do you want to take some of them right now, since we had a natural pause here that we didn't plan for? So let's go ahead and take them.
So Kathleen, yes. So Kathleen asked a really good question. When you gave that example on your production profile, it says, how did that referral come as a result of the international niche? So can you talk a little bit about obtaining referrals from that international segment that you gave an example of on the production profile?
Okay, this is a little bit of an aside, but there are a number of different ways to do this. You can advertise in a local language paper. So, there are almost everywhere in the United States, there are papers for people from India. So you can take out, and their websites for the, that where you can take out free ads. But what she did is she worked with those clients and she stayed in contact with them. And she just, she was in conversation with them regularly. So when they heard about one of their friends who was, they had bought $1 million house from her. So when they heard from one of her friends, one of their friends was going to be purchasing, well, then they referred them to her just because she stayed in contact and gave them great service. So if you find that you have attracted international clients, then stay in contact with those people regularly. Get involved. If they have a charity or they're doing something for their church or whatever it is, where you can volunteer, you want to be seen with them at events if possible, or serving the community. And serving the community is really important for our Gen Ys, because they want people who are involved with the community who give back. That's one of the best ways to market.
Great, thanks. Let me just ask you one more before we get back into it. You mentioned in the seller's market, it's good to have 60% listings and 40% buyers that you're working with. Again, that was on the production profile page when you were analyzing that agent's profile. But we're trending in a lot of areas of San Diego County and throughout the United States towards a buyer's market. So what would be a good percentage balance when we're in a more significant buyer's market?